Hey everybody, my name is Paul Esden Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Make sure before we go any further, you like the video and hit subscribe down below for New York Jets content all day, every day. Live stream, pre-recorded videos, and fantastic guests here on the channel. And again, shout out, we're over 2,000 strong and running. So make sure you join that army. We're here on the show today to talk about one of the craziest, wildest topics in the NFL this offseason, and that is the curious case of Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns quarterback. Now, of course, this is a New York Jets show exclusively, talking only New York Jets topics. So you may be asking yourselves, what the hell are we talking about Baker Mayfield for? By the way, the Jets have no interest in Baker Mayfield. Josina Anderson, NFL insider for CBS Sports, had an opportunity to interview Robert Saleh after mandatory minicamp and asked him if his team would have any interest in a guy like Baker Mayfield. They're going to be tampering. He's on another team. But Robert Saleh said, we like the guys we got, which is Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and Mike White. Josina Anderson, even after he gave that answer, asked again, Baker Mayfield's out there. He's like, we're good. So for any of those curious, no Baker Mayfield to the Jets. They believe they've got their guy. However, Baker Mayfield is in the news, and actually a former New York Jets playmaker could help deliver the trade to get him to a new team. And of course, the setup real quick, because the Jets play the Browns in week 2. So that's important to note for a variety of reasons. But the fact of the matter is Baker Mayfield, the former number 1 overall pick of the Cleveland Browns, was, of course, on the roster as the Browns were flirting with Deshaun Watson. They trade for Deshaun Watson, give this big contract, sign other guys, Jacoby Brissett, Joshua Dobbs, and oh yeah, Baker Mayfield's still on the team. Awkward. Anywho, somehow this has been a big collection plate. So what's going to happen? Where is he going to go? We're all wondering it. But NFL insider Josina Anderson provided an interesting theory, an interesting trade idea where perhaps this Baker Mayfield thing could go, including a Robbie Anderson trade. Here's Josina Anderson. Let's hear from her.
The question, though, remains, Chris, does this team need a number 2 wide receiver above the skill set of a Donovan Peoples-Jones? And you mentioned the Carolina Panthers. If something happens in the future, could somebody like a Robbie Anderson be a part of that trade? Just something I'm throwing out there.
Well, Robbie Anderson Robbie Anderson, of course, undrafted free agent, initially entering the league, joining the New York Jets. He methodically works his way not only from undrafted free agent to making the roster, but becoming a key cog as a vertical passing element guy in this Jets passing attack. And of course, once he's up for the contract, Joe Douglas allows Robbie Anderson to test the market. Joe Douglas miscalculates the market. He signs with the Carolina Panthers initially on a 2-year deal for $20 million. And I think the big question among Jet fans is he a number 1 wide receiver? Is he just a guy? They let him go. And of course, he makes them pay. In the very first season of Robbie Anderson to the Carolina Panthers, he lights it up, has a career year in catches, yards, touchdowns. I mean, he blows the roof off and looks great. And that was with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, of course. Then this past season, everything fell apart. He was reunited with his old Jets quarterback, Sam Darnold, but that didn't seem to make much of a difference at all. Quite frankly, a negative impact, if anything. And on top of the bad quarterback play, which didn't help Robbie didn't help himself out either. But now Robbie Anderson could go from Carolina Panthers to Cleveland Browns, originally from the New York Jets. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, it would be kind of hilarious if Robbie Anderson ends up going in this trade, being involved with the Baker Mayfield trade, because earlier this offseason, he made some very interesting remarks about Baker Mayfield. And I got to give a shout out to our lovely folks over at Sports Illustrated for, documenting this. It was Jelani Scott of Sports Illustrated. Here's what happened. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport listed Carolina as high on the list of potential landing spots for Baker Mayfield. Robbie Anderson sees that on Instagram and acknowledges the news and says in the comments, no, in response to potentially Baker Mayfield coming to the Panthers. Then a fan account posted his reply with, wow, Robbie has zero chill, to which Robbie Anderson replied to that saying facts. He tried to backpedal those comments after the fact, saying he was simply defending his quarterback, Sam Darnold, but quite frankly, the damage has been done. Now, Robbie Anderson initially signed a 2-year deal for $20 million. After it went so well, initially he signed a new 2-year deal on top of that, right before last season, to add even more money to it. That new deal was 2 years for $29.5 million. Now, here's where we get funky. Robbie Anderson's future is going to be hard to move. He is owed 20 and a half, or excuse me, he has 29.5 million remaining on his deal. But if the Panthers moved on, they would have to pay $20.4 million in dead cap. I don't know how you overlook that. Now, teams in today's day and age have said, YOLO, we don't care about dead money. Look at the Carson Wentz deal and so many other big monster, Matt Ryan, another one where massive dead cap for the home team sending the guy out. So anything's possible nowadays, but it could be Robbie Anderson being moved for a guy he didn't even want to be a part of that trade. Would be kind of hilarious. By the way, a couple of nuggets of Robbie Anderson. Earlier, just a handful of weeks ago, Robbie Anderson tweeted out that he was pondering retirement at age 29. And a lot of people have speculated because of the terrible situation he apparently is in Carolina with poor quarterback play. When Robbie Anderson was asked about that in the media, he just said, I was just thinking out loud. Nothing major here. I'm here, aren't I? So not really a ringing endorsement there from Robbie Anderson. Also, one additional nugget, DJ Bieneme, formerly of the New York Daily News, who covered the New York Jets, reported that Robbie Anderson was interested in a Jets reunion. Now we're getting crazy here. We're getting wild. I mean, the Jets are 4 deep. They got Corey Davis. They got Elijah Moore. They got Garrett Wilson. They got some guy named Braxton Berrios. Plus, they got Denzel Mims, a former second-round pick. They like Jeff Smith, who they also have on the roster. Could Robbie Anderson to the Jets make sense? Again, there doesn't seem to be a logical place for him, quite frankly, on the roster. But how could we not want Sun God back? If we were doing a Madden roster, of course Robbie could come on back. He could bring a vertical element to the passing game that, quite frankly, they don't really have. Corey Davis showed a few flashes, like the Titans game, which was pretty cool. Elijah Moore could take the top off of defense, but Robbie Anderson just has that unadulterated elite speed. So if he could shake free, I'd be interested to kick the tires. Unfortunately, I don't think that reunion with the Jets is going to happen, but we always do love the Sun God. And man, what an initial season there with the Carolina Panthers. That was fantastic. So interestingly enough, in all this Baker Mayfield drama, which, by the way, it seems, according to Jake Trotter of ESPN, the Jets play the Browns week 2. And since I predicted the schedule back in May when it came out, and we went through the schedule, I was pretty convinced in May that Deshaun Watson had like a 0% chance of playing. And now here in July, even though we still don't know what's going to happen, I feel pretty confident it's not going to be Deshaun. So you take that piece off the table, and the only other 2 quarterbacks on the roster, not named Baker Mayfield, who obviously will not be there, is Joshua Dobbs, career backup and rocket scientist, for those who don't know, former Tennessee Volunteer, and hasn't been very good in the NFL. And then you go over to the other guy there, and we're talking about Jacoby Brissett, who is also not good. So that is great news for the Jets. So with Baker Mayfield gone, who has done some damage to the Jets, certainly over the years, he could be the guy, and Robbie Anderson could be the guy that facilitates it. And if that ends up being the case, our boy Sam Darnold, who is down there in Carolina, would get replaced by the guy who went a little higher than him in that 2018 NFL draft. Remember, Baker Mayfield was the number 1 pick. Sam Darnold was the number 3 pick. So many interesting ex-Jet storylines on social media. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But again, if Robbie's interested in Jets reunion, come on home, Sun God. We'll take you. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for this fun little video. We're in the summer, a couple weeks away from training camp, so we got to dabble in some other stories. Remember, every week here on the channel, we have the Jet Zone podcast, a New York Jets podcast every Wednesday with brand new episodes talking about the latest news and nuggets happening in Jets world. Plus, it's an interactive show. You can get involved in the comments section and join the program and show us all your love. That's a weekly live stream every Wednesday. On top of that, we have videos like this that are sporadically sprinkled in throughout the week, plus phenomenal interviews. And we booked a good one for next week. Keep an eye out for that one. A insider, a phenomenal Jets analyst that does not do a ton of radio hits or TV hits or video hits for that matter, will be joining us next week on the channel. Make sure, again, we bring in the best guests possible, talking all things New York Jets. So make sure you like the video if you haven't already, and hit subscribe down below, and tell a friend. More New York Jets, the better, and we're getting ready for the 2022 season. Thanks, everybody, and we'll be joining you next time for some more content right here on youtube.com/boygreen.